What's poppin', Tub Nation? Welcome back to Tub Takes. This is a VGC video podcast where we go over what's been making waves in the VGC scene. Today, right above me, I am joined by my co-host, Adi.
Hello, everyone. Hope you guys are having a good one, and I hope you guys are excited for the 4th of July long weekend, because I definitely am ready for a long weekend.
Right. This Friday, that's coming up. And other reasons to celebrate. We have Brian here off of a hot win in the St. Jude Charity Tour. How are you doing?
What's going on, guys? I'm doing good. Happy to be here.
Awesome. So today we'll be covering a couple of different tournaments that happened over the past weekend. One IRL, actually, the final quote IRL tournament that determined Worlds invites for this World Championships upcoming. We kind of dropped the ball on that one. I'm always forgetting to check the calendar for the Master Ball League tournaments that are upcoming, but Singapore was in fact the last one. And so we might actually start by talking about that one. I kind of put these in a random order, but I think that might be a good topic to start with today. Regardless, though, we'll be talking about those, and then we'll also be kind of ranking the restricteds in the metagame here at the end. It's a bit of a light week, and we know that it's going to continue to be light throughout the summer, so we'll probably talk about some different topics and stuff. If you have ideas, feel free to mention them in the chat or in the YouTube comments, which Adi did just link. If you're here now and you'd rather watch this on YouTube or you're not going to be around for the whole thing, !YT in the chat. We upload this to YouTube tomorrow if you're watching this on Twitch, or today if you're watching this on YouTube.
And if you are watching on YouTube, I want your feedback on something, because I was throwing this out to Alex. I think we're doing a tier list today, and then I think because there's going to be less to talk about over the summer. There's not as much news going on. There's fewer events going on. I was saying we should do a deep dive into each restricted duo that we have in our top tier, one week at a time before Worlds, just to fill up a little time, because there's going to be definitely a lot of grassroots tournaments, but not as many in-person tournaments and not as many like metagame developments that we would see otherwise.
Yeah, and then other ideas are like, we could cover players, we could cover like players that are qualified for the World Championships, we could cover history if you want us to talk about any of the previous years of VGC that are long forgotten, but actually not by us because we were playing all the way back then. Then feel free to let us know. Those are just some of the initial ideas, and of course there's all kinds of different topics to talk about VGC. So regardless, we'll figure it out. This week, though, we're going to start off by talking about Singapore. They had their Worlds Qualifying Master Ball League this past weekend. I can't imagine the structure was anything too different or crazy. Let me see.
5 rounds of Swiss into top 16 cut.
Okay, sounds good. And so for this one, it was I think only top 12 get Worlds invites, and so there were there was a couple of players that ended up going to losers for one last chance to fight out of like basically the top 16. And I think I actually remembered hearing Jude Lee ended up playing against Melvin Key and ended up beating him. Pretty crazy one.
Can you imagine? I mean, first off, that's a super hype matchup between two of the best players in Singapore. But also, can you imagine being Melvin and being like, I got to play Jude, or Jude being like, I got to play Melvin, and then looking over at the next table and there's a Haunter playing their winning in for Worlds next to you.
I was so excited to talk about the Haunter. There was in fact a Haunter at the Singapore Nationals, and it managed to go 4-1 in Swiss. I think maybe it was it a double elimination top 16 bracket, or I don't actually know. Or just a regular.
It's just that if you lose in top 16, you have to play another round to see if you.
There was just a win in kind of like almost like a third place match, but not third place. I see. Okay. And yeah, the Haunter managed to make it this deep in the tournament with a set of Trick Room, Haze, Foul Play, and Taunt. It's got Levitate. It's a ghost type. There's like definitely a niche it fills, but like I can't really look at this Pokemon and say like that is a niche that I need filled, I guess is what I was thinking.
Yeah, especially since
I'll throw it over to you, Brian. What do you think?
Yeah, what does it do that like Gengar doesn't do? Is it it's not faster, right? It's not
slower.
Stronger.
Nope.
It's slower. I guess it's better for Trick Room, but like I spent my whole like drive home from work, which was like an hour and a half drive. It's like, what does Haunter do? And I literally couldn't come up with an answer. So And I was kind of bummed. I thought it
It's
made Worlds, but I didn't realize only top 12 made it. And so
Yeah.
that was kind of breaking news to me. I thought this guy made Worlds with Haunter, but that's a
Mm-hmm.
bit of a bummer.
I think it's just worse than Mischievous, if I'm being honest. I mean,
That's what I was thinking.
you can just put an Eviolite on that guy, and it's bulky. And I'm so confused by Terra Normal because like, is it because I think it's open team sheet? It says open team sheet, which means that like the CSR players know it's Terra Normal, and you're also weak to Psychic. So like, it's not like you weren't dying to the other attack.
Not to mention it's
And it's not
focus
like you were,
sash, so like, you're taking one.
right.
Bit goofy.
I don't get it.
Yeah, Levitate being the main thing that separates it from Gengar, because Gengar did lose that one. But like Adi said, Mischievous has that. So, I mean, it's faster than Mischievous, but I don't know if that works for it or against it. And then maybe Haze is the key move here, which, I don't know, Haze doesn't feel like a key move in the format as is, but maybe they, this team doesn't really like playing against Dondozo. Looking at it, Dondozo would be quite annoying for some of the stuff here, especially two physical attacking restricteds. They're going to really struggle to get through like those defense booster ones. I don't know if anybody actually ended up using. Yeah, it looks like a Dondozo made it to top 8. So, Oh, and then also one down here in top 16. So maybe they played some fish on the way. Maybe the Haunter farmed. Hard to say.
Might have just been
Regardless,
like a local anti-meta pick. Like they might have just known what people like to use in Singapore. Like there is a lot of Dondozo, and
right.
they're like, okay, this is my one Pokemon patch for everything I know our locals like to run, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I guess let's talk about some of the more successful teams. It ended up being won by, I believe, what I'm going to refer to this one over the course of this episode, and there might be some slight variations, but this is basically MDB's U.S. Nationals team, NAIC team. I called it U.S. Nationals, NAIC team. And it seems like a lot of people are picking this one up. Some of the things that separate it from other similar Ice Rider teams is notably it's like Clear Amulet Ice Rider. A lot of people are using Leftovers now, but this is Clear Amulet. And Choice Scarf on the Miraidon are some of the most notable things, as well as Sash or Shifu. Sash or Shifu, I don't know, is seeing very little play right now. The Focus Sash often finds its way onto other Pokemon on the team. You'll see Mystic Water, you'll see Choice Band, you'll see Choice Scarf, but not a whole lot of Sash. So, yeah, these are things that we've kind of already seen, but just kind of proving that this could be a metagame staple, so watch out for it. But yeah, if there's nothing else to say about that one, ended up beating Swordfish in the finals. And yeah, once again using the cheating items to water. No, it's fine. Actually, I forgot that. Isn't there's like 4, I thought, or there are only 3 in the game right now for water. Can you use Wave Incense? I don't know.
Let's find out.
It's just
I'm
always
pretty sure
amusing.
the incentives are not in the game, right?
No, they're gone. They're gone. Okay. Maybe I would be seeing them more often, anyways. But yeah, it's just funny that it's like basically item clause. But this is a broken record because I feel like I've talked about this before on the show, so nothing new, anyways. And yeah, the rest of the team very very standard. And let's see. So this is close to the Gavin and Nails team. I think cut the Fluttermane.
That's an ability shield ogre. Hang on a second.
Yo, okay.
And again, you talk about local metagame. That is a heck of a meta call. But you look at the 2 Weezings in top 8, one more in top 16, and they know what their local metagame looks like. They're gonna have to get through a bunch of Weezings potentially to make it to Worlds, and they called them out. And I'm very curious if they actually played any now in top cut.
Yeah, that's always the cool thing is when you go fishing like that and you end up hitting it. And yeah, I mean, we don't have. Well, I guess we could end up looking into the bracket picture here.
They did not. They didn't play, at least on top cut. They didn't play at one of them.
tough look. And so yeah, in terms of some of the other teams here, Marcus, I swear Marcus Co was on stream at EUIC, I think. Was he not the Ice Fang Dondozo that took the whole round to time? I swear that was him.
Oh, was he? He's also the defending champion, right? Of Singapore Nats.
Didn't see. Let me go down and look.
Or maybe not. Maybe that's who's it say? It says Irvin Todd. Never mind.
Okay.
Yeah. Was that the Ice Fang Dozo where they're like, we literally just put Ice Fang on because it takes a long time for the animation to play or something like that?
I think so.
I thought I heard that somewhere.
I'll go on a bit of a scavenger hunt right now just to see if my suspicions were correct. But yeah, regardless, Dozo just a bit of a not regional, but like, regional choice. Like it seems like people were wanting to be ready for that, either running Ability Shield or people running the Dozo. I mean, if you know that one of the strongest players in your region is going to be using it, then you want to be countering that, especially for tournaments that could be that small. Was it day 2? Or am I at the wrong UIC?
This is this year, 2025.
Victor Jimenez is Dozo, but I don't think that's...
It might have just been like a different tournament. It might have just been like an EU regional or something like that. That the Dozo was used at. It was against the Terapagos. I don't remember that Ice Fang one, but I don't remember. I could go to Lab Mouse and search Ice Fang Dozo and find it eventually, but it would take me a little bit more time than I think is worth. I don't know, just to get to the bottom of this silly claim that I made that might end up being wrong. Regardless, though, this is a version of the team that you want to be ready for if you're, going to the World Championships or just playing in the Regulation I metagame right now, as well as the team below it. I believe that Toller and James Evans both used like this 6 at US Nationals. Why do I keep saying that? Against at NAIC. Yeah, just another kind of cookie cutter. I'm sorry to say, maybe the team has some interesting Pokemon, but regardless, this is like just Sun offense, with Weezing kind of holding down the fort and Brute Bonnet holding down the fort to prevent slower teams from like setting up Trick Room against it, and otherwise just blasting you with 2 restricteds that don't have their ability turned off. I see
a lot of this tournament was just, people were taking good, well-established teams and maybe putting their own spin on it. Like you saw the Ability Shield Kyogre, and the Marcus had he had a Adrenaline Orb Tatsugiri, which I'm not exactly sure what that's for, if it even comes up very much, but it was an interesting tech. And then, yeah, it just kind of seems like people were grabbing stuff that was good and putting their own flair on it for either local metas or comfort. Oh, like this
maybe
guy's Hex as well. That's pretty cool.
Adrenaline Orb must just be better than like the 5th best item on Tatsugiri. Like, Ability Shield is gone if you want to use it against Weezing. Sash, of course, being like one of the number ones. Scarf also being one of the number ones. Even the bulky ones will run a Citrus Berry. You can run like Helmet, I guess, or Goggles. I've seen those, but maybe they just decided that they'd rather cheese an Incineroar team.
Yeah, maybe it activates while it's in Dozo's mouth as well, and you get the speed boost if they ever send out Incin. I'm not really sure how it works, but
that one's a mystery to me, honest.
It must be that way, but it is kind of cool, right? Because they have order up on and body press and Dozo anyway, so it wasn't like they really needed the ways to get their wins in. But yeah, it is kind of strange. They also were Terra Grass, so they didn't need the safety goggles, and so yeah, there weren't a ton of item choices that really made sense in that slot.
Also, somebody mentioned in the chat the Haunter. Yeah, we talked about the Haunter maybe just before you joined because we couldn't resist talking about it right away as soon as we saw it. But yeah, very, very goofy. Our conclusion is that it doesn't make sense to any of us for the most part. All right, and so yeah, for the rest of the teams, a lot of familiar ones, and so we'll probably kind of move on from here. But 12 more invites to the World Championships. Really depends on who all wants to go. I mean, it is on the West Coast, but only 2 players, the finalists, got the travel award. So yeah, up to the rest of them to decide if they want to pay out of pocket for this one. Regardless, congrats to all of them. And
yeah, shout outs to Zach Kelly, who I think moved to the U.S. He's going to school in the U.S. and so it seems like he's back for the summer in Singapore. But I imagine he'll be at Worlds. He was at a bunch of NA events this year. Was doing quite well, so it's cool to see him get his Worlds invite.
Yep. definitely. So next up, let's talk about Victory Road here. Victory Road held their third June challenge over the weekend, and like I said, VR tournaments are some of the most like prestigious when it comes to grassroots tournaments. This one ended up having 200 players only, but they usually have like around 300. It might just be because there was competition with the St. Jude tournament as well as they've been hosting several. They had one last weekend, so maybe people didn't feel like they needed to get in on this one because they had already gotten their fill on the previous weekend. But these are the tournaments that have good prizing, good staff running them and stuff like that. So people are going to come out for them. There's going to be strong players in them. In fact, if you don't recognize a lot of the top names, these are names that you're going to want to start to recognize because there are a lot of strong players, and so you're going to see good results coming out of this one. And yeah, that's a lot of ride on. I'm saying like a column. That's pretty funny.
Mm-hmm. This one did start at 3 a.m. Eastern time, so it was not one that most Americans got to play in.
No.
Although there are some, as you see, some LATAM players who did play in it, which is pretty impressive, and at least one American who made top cut. But yes, no sane American was playing in this tournament, I think. But yeah, it was made so that it was more accessible to Asian time zones, and we see a big turnout from Asian players, from Australian players, and so cool to see what their another example of what their metagame looks like. And it turns out it looks a lot like what the metagame we thought looks like. It hasn't changed very much. It's a lot of the same teams.
You're saying the EU meta is like standard teams? That's kind of a hot take.
Well, also like the Asian and Australian meta, right? Between
that's fair. That would
between a lot of the Chinese, Japanese, Australian players that did well.
Shout outs to Samuel Thompson representing NA in the top cut here because yeah, not many other US players were brave enough to make that time zone work or that time slot work. But yeah, also I know that Victory Road chose this time specifically so that it was unlikely to collide with St. Jude, so that was cool. Regardless, yeah, lots of samples, standard sample teams, whatever you want to call it. Like we talked about earlier, MDB team. I mean, maybe there's some minor differences here and there. Like I think we saw like a Steel Terra on Lando earlier or something like that. Like I don't know, Terra types. That's not gonna convince me that it's a different team. It's still the same name, you know. Go ahead, Ryan. Sorry.
I was just saying like sub instead of taunt. I think the other top 2 or 3 teams had Volcarona instead of Landorus, but
right.
Yeah, like I think this tournament is showing like this is the team to be prepared for. Like this is kind of your go-to Maridon team at this point. If it's not the Fede Campo winning team from NAIC, it's definitely this one.
Yeah, two. I mean, second and third, I guess not like 2 appearances in the top 4. A really strong showing, and yeah, I mean, even the Fede team still doing well, despite people knowing. Oh wait, no, this is not the Fede team. That's a Landers. What happened to the Bear? But yeah, I think that we'll probably see some stuff like this, just building around strong cores that have already been proven themselves, and just making sure that you're as like well prepared for all the different lines, all the different creative approaches you can bring to any matchup. I think is going to be like largely the most important thing. Like, are there still hidden strategies to be uncovered in this format? I'm going to say big, maybe, like a big shrug of my shoulders. Like, is there a guaranteed like payout to spending a lot of time hunting that strategy versus spending all that time hunting, practicing? That's the big question mark. After what we saw at NAIC, 2 very standard proven teams, it's gotten me thinking like you might just want to bunker down, pick something strong, and lock it in. I say this all in front of Audie, who ran like some crazy shit in St. Jude later, so we'll get to that.
But yeah, well, why would you, if you have the crazy call, why would you ever run it at a grassroots tournament and let everyone see it before Worlds, right? You surely should keep that hidden.
Right.
Yeah.
So therefore, you don't need to take Audie's Groudon Zamazenta team seriously. For the person in the chat asking about the serious natures, they probably just did that. I mean, like, I don't know why they went through the extra effort to put the natures in. When you're submitting a closed team sheet, you can just submit no natures. But technically, it's not, like, illegal to do this. So, like, if you wanted to confuse your opponent, you could, maybe. But yeah, no, these natures are not the actual natures they were using.
I think PokePass used to do that on by default, anyways. But
Got you.
Going back to your point about kind of there's not really any sauce out there right now. I think that's kind of like it's kind of like an exciting thing for Worlds because it's like the meta's still like relatively diverse. I mean, there's not like you see the relatively the same team in top three, but going down, there's like still a lot of diversity and like you said, that maybe makes people want to stick to something and just get good at it, or it kind of like incentivizes people to, come out with some heat for Worlds. So I think if anything, this is showing that Worlds is going to be a very exciting tournament.
The best of the best going to be piloting some of the best archetypes, and then yeah, like with the metagame kind of locking down, it does give people something to aim for. It gives something like if people are going to truly try to cook something anti-meta to target the top teams, then this is the time to do it when there isn't going to be as much meta progression, and you're probably not going to get that punished by the metagame changing very often when we have no official tournaments between now and then. Yeah, it's gonna be really cool to see uh the different approaches and how they pan out. I do remember some people actually running serious ground on at Worlds. Somebody mentioned in the chat that actually did happen, and we ran the numbers. It was not actually optimal. It's so funny. It's sad, but just almost never the right answer. Adi, go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say, I think that we kind of said the metagame isn't really progressing. Yeah, there's a lot of the people using MDB's team, for example. But I just think that hey, that Pagos Maridon team that we see in top 8 of this tour was not really a thing before Bologna, and now is starting to pop up more and more and more. But again, just like people kind of, and I think even at Bologna, it was kind of a meta call. It was calling out a lot of CSR, right, as a very good matchup into that. Has a pretty bad matchup into like Maridon Zamazenta, which is another team that was not really around to start out. I know Joe was using it, maybe a few other people were using it, but like really took off more recently, and we've seen I guess it kind of flopped this tournament, so maybe it didn't do super well here. But it's another team that I think should be on your radar going into Worlds. I know I played a couple of them in St. Jude, and I think it did pretty well there. So yeah, I think that the metagame has been evolving, even with new restricted combos, but also with just the tech choices that we see people using on more established restricted combos. And while that's never going to take away from CSR Zamazenta and Ice Rider Maridon being crazy, crazy strong, I do think we're going to see people continue to innovate. And I think that, I think Worlds is going to be very exciting. Whether that means that people are going to find something brand new, probably not, but people taking the existing good teams and taking it to its absolute limits is kind of what the Worlds is generally known for. And I think people are going to find creative ways to build out these common teams and do really well with it.
No, I agree. I definitely agree.
And Max, thank you for the sub. I appreciate it. Breathe, and I'll bring Pagos to the World Championships.
Choice ban Rock Tomb, true. It's not about the damage how much Choice ban Rock Tomb does, but of course about slowing them down for something else. Like you can Rock Tomb a Shadow Rider and then outspeed it with your Maridon, so that's a pretty cool combo.
And the Rain Dance Urshifu with nothing really to benefit from it?
Just anti-sun. Seen it sometimes on CSR Zama teams. And I'll be honest, every time I see it, I'm just super unconvinced. And I'm also somebody that's unconvinced by coaching, to be fair. I think Aquajet comes up a lot more than people give it credit. There are just a lot of situations where, oh, darn, that Pokemon is at 1 HP and I need to just finish it off. Or, I'm in Trick Room and I need my Urshifu to just deal a little bit of damage. It can really, really come up. So, but maybe people are running it very intentionally for some matchups that it can heavily swing. That's always the most important thing. Is if a move like that is very unimpactful, rarely impactful, I guess, can swing a matchup. I guess why not? Especially if it's an important one. But yeah, let's see. Let's see what else there is. One thing about this team that we didn't quite mention is that it's Electric Seed Volcarona. Definitely could be picking up in popularity. I don't have like the full like Pokemon breakdown, but I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the Volcaronas are trying out Electric Seed. I believe that's what Eric Rios had. at NAIC, and so kind of just showing its strength because it's a very good anti CSR Zama Pokemon. You get up a Quiver Dance and you're able to take Astral Barrages a little bit better. The Electric Seed means that they really don't want to body press you between Flame Body and the effect that they're not even getting that much damage in return. And it's going to do very well against the Rillabooms, some of the other Pokemon on the team. They're just all going to struggle to break the bulk. So it's a really cool not anti-meta pick, but like it's a good Pokemon for beating specifically those types of teams.
Yeah, it's like a more proactive kind of role as the Landorus on the first place team there, but it's like its
Mm-hmm.
own dedicated sweeper in some cases too, which is pretty nice. Can take the load
Right.
off of Miraidon and Ice Rider.
Funnily enough, when I was looking through all of the different tournaments that have taken place in the past couple of weeks, I was like, thinking, is the Hoge team one that needs to be on your list to beat for Worlds? Like, yes and no. The problem is nobody else is running it besides the Hoge brothers. But damn, do they just keep doing well with it? This is, if you're going to be going deep in the tournament, there's a chance that you might have to play it. So it's one to keep in mind, one to, have some ideas as to how to play it. You're not going to end up playing it because there's only 2 people in the tournament that are probably going to be running it. But, yeah, continuing to show some consistent success. So shout outs to them.
I really respect the consistency from those guys. Like they are the Blood Moon guys, and they always
Yeah.
will be. And I mean, like I'm sure they've had doubts as to how good Blood Moon is in this format. Maybe not, but like they just keep running it, which is pretty sick.
And doing well too. Both I think finished
Yeah,
9-3 at NAIC, so not like a bad performance by any means with a Pokemon that nobody else is using at this point. Like it's had its highs and lows across the different formats that we've played this year, but like right now I would definitely say it feels like a bit of a low considering you don't see it anywhere else. So,
yeah.
really
Paired
really
with
cool.
Sneasler nonetheless too, which is pretty sick.
They just never got over Reg H. Just never got over it.
I'm still not over it either.
I would love for it to
Fine.
come back personally, but anyways, yeah, I'm looking down the rest of these teams. Smeargle is definitely on the rise. It actually only occurred to me recently when looking at the graphic for NAIC that Smeargle was in the top 12 graphic. I didn't actually know that until a little bit ago, and also notably Grimmsnarl like completely fell out. A Pokemon that was like around like 25% usage at certain tournaments over the course of this format, and yeah, here we go. Grimmsnarl 21% and then sub 11% in day 2. I did not realize how badly that Pokemon fell off. Oh no, I'm seeing Gabriel here in the chat said that he actually used Rock Tomb into a Volcarona and didn't OHKO it. Oh no!
Wow.
Tragic, tragic. I mean, it makes sense. Like it was Electric Seed, right? So, but still quite funny to see the Volk hang on from that quadruple super effective move. But yeah, I don't. Anybody have any comments on either the rise of Smeargle or the fall of Grimmsnarl? I'll throw it over to
I mean,
you
honestly, I
first,
think
Adi.
they're kind of correlated,
I
right?
agree.
Because Grimmsnarl is pretty bad into Smeargle teams, right? It's just a free spore. Smeargle loves seeing teams that don't have like Smeargle's a little weaker when your opponent has 2 guys that are faster than it. And you can just throw 2 attacks into it and knock it out. But Smeargle is the strongest when your opponent only has 1 Pokemon that's faster than it, and then you're just free to click Spore, guaranteed at least 1 Spore or 1 Decorate or whatever move you need. And so yeah, I think that it's not surprising to see Grimmsnarl kind of fall off as the format develops, but I think Smeargle is an especially antagonistic like format development for these Grimmsnarl teams.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, kind of seems like Smeargle's always doing something impactful on the field, and Grimmsnarl is kind of often doing something not too impactful. Like I feel like people have come up with ways to overcome screens. Like Miraidon's just insane. I don't think it really cares about screens too much, and now with Smeargle, you can just decorate to get around that stuff. So I think the
Mm-hmm.
kind of active versus passive game plans there are kind of what's separating it nowadays.
And
And there's always
expanding on
Moody,
that,
right? Even if the other guys are faster and you get that fake out off, there's always a chance you're going to be faster the next turn. So it's kind of
that 1 in 5.
the uncertainty of it as well. Yeah.
I think it was so funny when Marcus posted the team that they were using or something like that. His paste was titled like "Speed Boost, please" or something like that, and I was like, "Yep, you're probably like telling yourself that every time." And to be fair, like I don't know what the odds are across like 2 or 3 uh, best of threes, but like if you lead Smeargle every game and click fake out every game, like turn 1, like after a couple of games, there's gonna just be one where you get the speed boost, and there's a decent chance that that speed boost is like an instant game ender for your opponent. That Spore, that Decorate, like we said, sometimes all it is having your Pokemon be faster than Smeargle is enough to counter it. But if it's faster than them because of the speed boost, that just completely ends. Your counterplay disappears, and it can really, really get scary. Expanding on what Brian said though about like more active and passive types of approaches, I think it's especially that Smeargle is good against the slow play Grimmsnarl teams because this triangle that I've been obsessed with that's like prevalent in a lot of VGC formats, but so much so this one is that the overwhelming offense teams get stopped by overwhelming defense. Usually the like screens teams that the Grimmsnarls were using, but then the screens teams get rolled over by setup. And while setup isn't always on the teams that Smeargle is on, Decorate is a setup move in a way. Like maybe you're not clicking Nasty Plot with your Shadow Rider, you're clicking Protect and decorating it and protecting and Nasty Plotting on the same turn. That's setup. And that's going to help you ramp through your opponent's screens. You're not going to care about the damage reduction anymore. You're just using the fact that they have passive Pokemon, like you mentioned, to increase your damage output for the future and snowball from there.
Yep, 100%. I have a lot of examples I can talk about in my run at St. Jude's tournaments where
Exactly.
Decorate just like ends the game on the spot. So
yes, yeah, we will be getting there soon. And so let me see. Back to the Victory Road tournament. Can't remember what else it was that I wanted to mention specifically, but yeah, I had something else. But oh yeah, 2 Rayquazas did make day 2. I think is what I heard. Yep.
Yes.
Sure enough.
So
That's
sick.
Yes, and this is they've been bantering about it on Twitter pretty much nonstop. Narrett has been, telling everyone to use Rayquaza at Worlds, daring people to use Rayquaza at Worlds, and so going 6-3 at VR. I'm trying to do better than 6-3 at Worlds. So
It's something.
Mhm.
It's something, and that's enough for Rayquaza fans, I'm sure. That's pretty good.
true. Shout out to Rajquaza. Here. And then we also have the other one. Let's go find it. This one is with Lunala. And this one is I do love copy of Untitled 29 server version OTS. Server version's really good. Oh man. Okay, so yeah, I thought I had something else to add about Smeargle, I'll be honest, but it's escaping me. So if I think of it later, I'll come back to it. But other than that, notable teams from this tournament, that's probably it. Yeah, Smeargle's just so annoying, dude. It can literally do anything. I was reminiscing about Smeargle back in 2016, not necessarily because of Dark Void, but because of how weird the sets got, like around like the World Championships. Like people were running like it without Follow Me, like they were running like Dark Void, Wide Guard, Crafty Shield, and Spiky Shield, or something like that. Just all guard moves, I guess, plus the sleep move, and it was enough because Smeargle had pretty much a pseudo Follow Me active at all times, and it was called like if you don't do something, I'm clicking Dark Void. So it was just crazy then, and even then still I think a lot of people use a very like a lot of people use the same Smeargle moveset, this Spore, Fake Out, Follow Me, Decorate one, but I think that even with a couple of mix-ups, it can really swing different matchups, whether it's teching Protect on there so that you're ready to enforce more mind games, or you're putting Wide Guard on there to shut down certain other restricted Pokemon. It can really just be whatever you want it to be. Of course, that's Smeargle's whole thing, but I think a lot of people are probably going to put that into action, especially when it comes to figuring out what they want to use at the World Championships. If Smeargle's on their team, they're going to use it exactly the most devious way, the most annoying way for whatever matchups they're trying to target.
As
That's a
someone
PT.
who never played in 2016, since everyone's running the same Smeargle set, is it like an honest Pokemon now, or is it still devious and evil, and everyone should hate it still?
From
Honestly,
go ahead.
I think if it didn't have Moody, I'd be okay with it. I think the fact that there's a 20% chance to get a speed boost and win the game every turn is just devious. It's not okay.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
pretty fair.
I
I
think
started off with a technician one, so that wasn't even the case. You know, I wasn't even
that's
aware
fair.
of the evilness of that set, but yeah.
The moody ones are pretty obnoxious. I will say, I think it was summarized pretty well. Maybe it was again from Marcus. I don't remember exactly where I saw it. When people were talking about Kinagawa's success. The problem with that team specifically, and this one here or ones like it, is it feels like the floor of the team is 50-50, and that's very good for somebody who's piloting the team. You know, you might think you want to do better than that, but and I think this team will do better than that in a lot of situations. But the floor being 50-50 means that as long as you're in your opponent's head, you can always make something happen. That is what this team does best. The fact that that play that I mentioned earlier, like you can protect your Shadow Rider turn one, side decorate. If you know, even if they've got electric terrain up and you're what's it called? Not able to spore, you can still go for a decorate under your own Shadow Rider. And like another thing that people will do is they'll lead with two Pokemon that can threaten the Oko onto Shadow Rider, forcing the Smeargle to kind of just follow me and sack itself. But what if you throw both of your attacks into the Shadow Rider and it just protects and the Smeargle gets off that decorate? The fact that it goes through protect is so strong. So it just gives the team a lot of options anytime that you give it a free turn, you're risking the game basically. All right. So speaking of Smeargle, let's go ahead and move on to talking about the St. Jude tournament that Brian, you ended up winning the whole thing here, 12-2 record. And this one, I do want to mention really quick at the top, it was a slightly different format, right? You guys played Swiss, was it 8 or 9 rounds?
Eight rounds day one, and then a top 35 cut in the next day.
So did they do that round of 64?
They did.
Yeah.
They did.
The bottom 6 or so, I believe, is how many people had to
29
play.
buys, I believe. Yeah.
Got it. Yeah, that is kind of a funky one, but I mean, I get it. Sure, they want. I think this was chosen to be that way because it was going to be quick. It wasn't going to make the second day take super long, and so yeah, you ended up finishing with a record of, let's have a look, 6-2 after the first day. Before just going, you still did well enough to earn yourself a bye, and then win out from there on your way to the finals. So first off, let's talk about the team, and then maybe we'll go into the run. Now the team, I guess, why don't you tell me about it?
Yes, so this is a team that I was kind of given from Bruno. Bruno and Ashton had worked on this team. It was kind of a variation or kind of an evolution of a team they used in one of the GCs. They were really big on Smeargle and Specs Tropicos. And yeah, Bruno kind of showed me the team following the Portland regionals. I was there with my good friend Ben Grismer, and we were using like Dozo stuff, which is like really stally and kind of boring to play sometimes. And we were walking back to our hotel, and we were like, or Ben was like, you know, let's run some hyper offense at NAIC. We both like more or less have our invites. Let's just try and like blow people up every turn. And I was like, okay. And that was like peak Grimmsnarl season, right? So I was like, I don't know how we're gonna do that, but we'll figure it out. And then like as if Bruno just like heard us, I'm on my flight and he just sends me this team, and I was like, this looks pretty sick. I think we're gonna run this. And so, yeah, big shout outs to him and Ashton for kind of like forming this team. It was like a group of like 6 or 7 of us, and we all kind of had inputs here and there. Um, but yeah, like the main core of it is like Calyrex Shadow and Terapagos are pretty insane damage output that you can't really slow down. And when you pair that with Decorate, Follow Me, Fake Out Smeargle, it can kind of get out of control. Yeah, this is kind of a good visual here of how well it did at NAIC as well. I think about 10 people brought it. Some of those people being just people who grabbed it off of ladder. I think Calvin and Aaron were the two who we kind of found out took it from seeing us using it on ladder, and they actually did super well with it as well. But it had a pretty decent day 2 conversion. I think it was like 6 of 10 or 7 of 10 had made day 2 or something like that.
Mhm.
So pretty good. I was one of the ones who did not do very good at NAIC. I had a really rough run. I hit like every bad matchup imaginable, and then some bad matchups that weren't even imaginable. Like I hit like an AV T-Tar next to Goggles and DD. I was like, oh, okay, I think I just lose, and I lost. So that was it was a tough tournament, but yeah, I just decided to kind of run it back for this St. Jude's tournament. I hadn't really touched the game since NAIC, so just picked up what I had and yeah, ended up having a pretty good tournament.
Right, right. And so, yeah, I imagine the team was feeling pretty powerful along the way. What would you say was like one or two of the like most standout matches over your run? I can't remember. Also, none of the were any some of them streamed. I don't know. You might have played against some streamers, but you weren't streaming your end, right?
I wasn't streaming; it was just the finals that was on stream.
Got it.
Just in terms of matchup wise, round 3 was pretty impactful. That was like one of our tougher matchups is like Kyogre Roaring Moon. This one had this one had Calyrex Ice, which is a little bit more manageable. But like one of the matchups I hit at NAIC was this with Zamazenta. It was kind of a popular team going around, but that was like you stare at the team sheet and you just kind of cry because there's really not much you can do. This one was a bit more manageable, and this one was kind of cool because I got to click Dazzling Gleam on Terapagos, which was kind of my own flair to the team. We were struggling so much with Roaring Moon that I ended up putting Dazzling Gleam as our 4th move, and I actually got an Oko on the Roaring Moon with the Terapagos, and I was like, all right, cool. You know, the 1 out of 100 times I clicked that move and actually like worked, so that was pretty good. But this was a
Right.
super tough matchup. 23 games. Yeah, very close. Had to really outplay them in Trick Room, which was a bit difficult. But yeah, just kind of wanted to highlight that one based on how tough the
Right.
matchup was. And then we can go to I think it was the round. No, it was round 6. I played Darsh, and I was getting like PTSD because if
The
you see it,
T-Tar's back.
he's got the AVT tar, and he's got a follow me user that is immune to Spore. And I was like, all right, well, we had a fun tournament, guys. It's over again, unfortunately. But maybe he had a better sense of like how it wasn't as useful that I did, but he didn't even end up bringing the T-Tar. And I kind of understand because I think I could realistically like blow up the partner and then spore the T-Tar or like turn off the terrain. Like I don't think it's as easy for him to just kind of wall me out, but um he didn't end up bringing it, and this was like one of those matches where Calyrex Shadow Smeargle was like completely oppressive. He tried to get a bunch of quiver dances up with Light Screen, and like it just went from one turn where he either doubled into my Calyrex or just like ignored the Smeargle. I protected, decorated, and like +2/+4 Calyrex Shadow still was able to rip through the whole team. So
Hmm.
that's like an example of a matchup where decorate protect is like super oppressive and strong. So
Hmm. Nothing you could do
and
about it.
then there's really nothing you can do about it. And I think that was another match where the Moody was impactful in like a way you wouldn't expect. He locked into Snarl with his Miraidon pretty early on, and my Smeargle got like 2 straight Spadef boosts. So like normally I think Snarl's probably an easy 2-shot on Smeargle, but like I got to sit there and click an extra decorate, which like completely swings the matchup. So
Hmm.
that's a Moody example of it being a little insane as well. Um, but yeah, I think just one more matchup I'll highlight was top 8, which was also my round 8. Um,
Oh,
I I had like yeah, I had some family plans day 1, which kind of seemed like a trend this tournament. I feel like a lot of people just like kind of dipped because they had stuff to do. I know Adi, you were one of those people as well. I think you dipped in top 16. Um,
Yep.
but yeah, so I was already 6-1, and I didn't play this person, uh, and Yeah, so I didn't play them day one, and I was like, this matchup looks awful. I'm glad I don't have to play this. And I think me forfeiting that match also put them in day two, which was kind of funny because I think there was a pair down. But then going on to top eight, I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess I do have to play this person. But this was kind of one of the most insane cases of protect decorate I've ever seen. Like the end game, I'll just go over the end game of game two real quick. I'm already up a game, and I had like Calyrex Shadow at full. I'd already protected, and then I had paralyzed Smeargle against his like Koraidon Raging Bolt. Everything's like full HP. And I was like, I think the only way I win this for sure is double protect into decorate. And so I get the double protect, and he doubles into my Cali Shadow, and I don't get paralyzed and decorate, and then the game's like over. And I was like, that's just stupid that I won that. Like,
Yep.
that's crazy. So another good example of decorate being a bit broken. But this was a really like, other than like that last turn where I got pretty lucky, I'll admit, but that was a really close match and a really fun match. So just wanted to highlight that one as well. And then finals was on stream, so you guys
Nice.
can
Yep.
go and watch that back at the stream there. That was a fun one as well. That one really showcased the power of Terrapagos not terrestrialized. So that was a fun
Did
one.
you retweet it anywhere? I can't remember exactly where it was streamed.
I'm not sure if I retweeted this
It's
stream, but
like
I think
I
that
will the gamer.
Oh, okay.
yeah, you might be able to find it in the Limitless link as well.
Got it. Well,
Oh yeah, that's the one.
probably can find it on
Did I get that right?
I Will the Gamers
Nope.
Twitter account. So yeah, if people want to see that
Let's
one,
try
they
that
can find
again.
it there.
Oh, and just
There
I'm
we
not
go.
glossing over my match with Aaron on purpose. He also had to go. I got a free pass to finals. I'm gonna put my hands up and say I was pretty lucky with that one. I don't think if a player that good is piloting that team, I win. So I just want to throw that out there.
I got you. You ended up playing against Dill on it earlier, right?
Yeah, and that was a super
Mhm.
close set. So I mean, I had an idea of how the matchup was going to go, but Dill's a great player and played phenomenally, and that was also a very fun set.
Audie, you actually also played against Dill, if I remember correctly.
I played both of them. I played trailer and I played Dill.
Let's go ahead and
In
jump
day
over to
one.
yours here,
And
because your team looks stupid. What are we doing here?
yeah, well, the team is fun. I don't know. I'm currently in the stage of Worlds Prep where I am like testing out just a bunch of different teams. I kind of told my
Mhm.
friends, hey, it doesn't matter how stupid the idea is, send it over and I'll give it I'll at least think about it. I'll play some games with it. I'll give it a fair shake. And then hopefully, in mid-July, early August, I'll pick one out that I can really like iterate on and feel very comfortable with. And because all these because I'm so uncommitted to a team, I'm even willing to stream with these teams just to get the practice in,
Right.
along with making good content. So yeah, this is Arcel's team. He built it and he gave it to me. He's played a lot more with it. And if you were in chat while I was streaming this, you could see him telling me exactly how I misplayed in every single set, which is fun. And honestly, it was very, very good feedback. But yeah, I play this tournament. I streamed it. I had a lot of fun. I beat Aaron in round 3 in a very close set. I don't remember anything about it. I'll be honest. I just remember it being very close. But and then I lost to Dill in basically the exact same matchup, and Dill just cooked me. It was not a close set at all. But I played a lot of that team, and as you can see, people were asking me, is Groudon good? And my answer is, when you play 7 Miraidon in 9 rounds, Groudon is good. That is it is especially really good into that Miraidon Zamazenta team that I played a couple times. It turns out as a phenomenal matchup there. And so yeah, I did really well. I think I hit my matchups and I hit most of my press plus plays. I think I lost one game on a press plus plays miss. And I played 7 rounds in day 1 essentially. In round 8, my opponent had to leave. So after I was in a good position in game 1, they were like, actually, I just got to go, and they dipped. Which of course is funny because it's the opposite of what happened to you, Brian. And then of course the same way, I was supposed to play them in top 16, and in this case, I had lunch plans, so I had to leave before I played the set. And so I gave them the win. I did stick around to play my top 32 set, and I offered to stream it or I offered to put it on the official stream, and they said they had someone already. But I did play the Snow team in Top Cut in top 32. And the Kiram was pretty much a bystander the entire time. And sadly, the Kiram did not do very much. The Lunala,
No.
Ursaluna, and Mungus did pretty well, but the Kiram did not. But yeah, it was a fun tournament. The team performed really well. What's up?
What'd you say, Ryan?
I was gonna say should have been a Rayquaza after this weekend. Might have actually done really well.
Yeah.
Honestly, like a little bit, yeah. Yeah, my team did really well, like surprisingly well. So definitely gonna keep looking at it, look into it a little more, and see if it has legs or if I just kind of hit my matchups this weekend. But yeah, it was a fun tournament and it was good testing. And I played a lot of good, like you said, I played Dill, I played Aaron, I played some other very good players along the way. I think so. It was good practice, and I hope they do more of these.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
I also wanted to just say, like, shout outs to the tournament organizers. This was like super fun, super positive tournament. It was also for charity. I think they raised almost like $6,000 towards St. Jude's, which is like super amazing. I was in the call after the stream ended. They said they almost doubled their money from last year. So this is like a tournament that is growing, and it's like I think it's just something that is really cool that like our VGC community is able to do. Like we're able to come together and like have a fun tournament and raise money for like a really good cause. So just wanted to shout out to like I Will and everybody involved at this tournament.
Yeah, Jam, we actually go ahead.
I was gonna say I learned this weekend that St. Jude's Hospital, they don't charge any of their patients. It's all done by donation. So this really does make an impact, and it means that people can get access to treatment when they otherwise wouldn't be able to. On top of the fantastic research that they do there as well. So yeah, a really good
That's
cause.
actually mad dope. That's actually really, really cool. I saw Jam here in the chat say that you ended up beating Toller and #1 overall seed in your cut run. That's a very solid run. And your team here, I believe, is it just exactly maybe some slight changes from?
It had some changes. It had Terra Electric Miraidon. It had Rocky Helmet Ensign, and
yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't say like Urshifu's kind of like the one thing that's pretty variable based on who's playing the team, but that one was Mystic Water, Terra Water.
Yeah. So some slight changes, some slight improvements. Improved, made Fede's teams better. Fede take notes. But yeah, so there's like again we were talking about this earlier. Oh no, was there Dragon Pulse on Miraidon? Sorry, some slight improvements and some slight downgrades. I'm never gonna be a Dragon Pulse fan. But yeah, the that is exactly what we were talking about earlier. People are gonna be putting their own twist on some of these most proven teams, these strong teams. And yeah, as the rest of it, we did see Toller was in there with the wheezing stuff. The Calm Mind Koraidon team is one that I still think is like just on the Calm Mind Koraidon. Calm Mind Lunala with Koraidon. Is a team. Nope, never mind. Not Calm Mind. Okay. I was thinking like looking at these that I think it's like a solid team that's like just on the like fringe, the edge of the metagame, but no, it's just not that. Power Herb sucks, dude. Don't run Power Herb. I hate Power Herb. It feels so bad. Anyways. Oh, did they at least have like... Yeah, no, I hate that set. Like, after playing enough with it, it just feels so bad to only have Moongeist after you power Meat Beam, or you might get knocked off, or you might hit a target that you didn't want to hit, and now you can't hit that instant anymore. I don't know. It's still having decent success. 9-3 is no joke, so... is this meta manipulation? Yeah, I'm running Terrifier Ice Rider at Worldsmont. I have to do what I can. No, I mean, it's not supposed to be. I'm giving a real take after trying it out myself. But sure, you can take everything I say as meta manipulation. I mean, it's all about, spinning whatever narrative I want.
You also just like have a 10% chance to lose the game on the spot, even if you correctly like target the Incineroar. Like that feels pretty bad too. I don't know. I feel like you have ways to play the game more consistently that you don't need to take that risk.
So I'm with you, Audie. I just try to like leave that one out whenever I'm shitting on Meat Beam, because like in the same breath I was like, Dragon Pulse Miraidon, what are we doing here? Wrong team, but like hit your Dracos, and then here I am just like but Power Herb is bad. Let me find other reasons for Power Herb being bad. Power Herb Meat Beam specifically.
That's true.
But I'm with you
That's
there
fair.
too. You also might just miss.
Montana also has called me out as the Groudon player, so I get that. You're right. I have no legs to stand on for this one.
Yep.
Well, you can click
Also-
P blades more than once. You can only click Meteor Beam once, realistically.
And I will say that is this like starting point for building Groudon for me was like, well, I do not want to play a Groudon team that has to hit a specific P-Blade to win the game. And when you're running like bulk up or Swords Dance, that you do feel like you're putting yourself in the situation when you're running Assault Vest, then you could just have the opportunity to click it multiple times. And so I do think that clicking Precipice Blaze multiple times versus having to hit a single attack is a big deal. And it's especially a big deal when it's a Lunala clicking Meteor Beam and you need to hit that Tornadus or else you lose the game.
Sorry, I'm just getting very distracted by what you said to Mons. No, that's me in the chat. It's what Adi said out loud to Mons. Like, come on, man. It's still June. Anyways, I'm sure people can figure that one out, and if you can't, Adi, maybe you can explain it to Brian here in the Discord chat. Regardless, I mean, I can say it out loud too. There's nothing actually that problematic. Regardless, yeah. Any other teams that we think are standout worth talking about? I know that a couple of people couldn't play in the second day, so they ended up just like dropping or not showing. And yeah, I mean, Hard Trick Room's still kind of here on the edge. It's like one of those teams that I'm not really sure if you need to be ready for at the World Championships or not. Like, it's definitely going to be an annoying one if you play against it, but it's not being used by the strongest of strong players for the most part right now. And so definitely one in a bit of a tricky spot. And we'll kind of talk about this in the next section where we're talking about, what are the archetypes to watch out for at the World Championships, at least right now. And I don't see it changing drastically from when we talk about it right now to the World Championships. Things just might switch priority-wise like a little bit. Like, somebody, I think Brian might have been the one to say earlier that, like, the team to beat right now is this Ice Rider Miraidon team because it's doing so well, and several tournaments did well. In Singapore did well here. It still did well in St. Jude. And, there's already a Victory Road tournament this weekend again coming the first July one, and that's not going to be the last one of the summer, I have to imagine. So the trends are going to shift a little bit. This is of course just me as an Ice Rider Miraidon player saying like, hey, leave me alone, I'm not that big of a deal. But no, actually though, I do think that the public eye is going to be moving around quite a bit for what teams you need to beat. But remote, like, obviously, like the big 3 or 4 or so that we'll get into here in this tier list at the end, that's probably not going to change dramatically.
Okay, but I now given that you're the Ice Rider Miraidon player, you weren't going to say it, but I really do think the team that won VR is the team to beat. In this tour, in this Limitless tour, after Swiss, the top 3 seeds were Raj Desai, our colleague, who was on that Ice Rider Miraidon team. And then Dill was the 2 seed, I believe, also on that Ice Rider Miraidon team. And then Trailer was the 3 seed, also on that Ice Rider Miraidon team. And then I was the 4 seed. But it was like all the X1s basically were on the same team. It felt
Ignore
like.
the 5 seed.
So who's the 5 seed? Yeah, also on the same team. It felt like it was just everywhere. I felt like I was facing it every round. So yeah, this after the St. Jude tournament, I definitely have moved that team up on my list of teams to beat, especially after the other showings this weekend as well.
Right. Yeah, I feel like this is the time to go into it, and so let's talk about the teams to beat going into the World Championships. Do I like the names of these tier lists or these descriptions? I don't know. Maybe I'll just reduce them down to the letter. People, Brian's getting up close to read them because it's probably really small.
A lot of words in there.
There's too much words, right? Like, let's just have some letters. Also, it seems like these tiers might even be describing like individual Pokemon, I feel like. I don't know if it was actually describing. I don't know. I got rid of it before I read it all. It was a lot of text. We don't need a lot of text. However, these Adi ended up finding this one, and we might have seen it before, but regardless, it just presents the pairings in the most like visually pleasing way that you can do when it comes to displaying pairings. I think ESM's metagame breakdown thing also does a really good job of showing restricted pairings, so we don't have like those images in a tier list form. Um, Regardless, yeah, I can go ahead and link it for you if you want to make your own. But yeah, let's go ahead and get right into it. I guess we'll just go through them in the order that I have them sitting here in the F tier. The ones that didn't get put into the F tier, we pre-filtered these, by the way, and so we're not actually going to tell you our thoughts on Dialga, Origin, Palkia, Origin. Actually, yeah, Brian, go ahead and tell me your thoughts on Dialga, Origin, Palkia, Origin. Where do you rank it?
They both get Trick Room, so that's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Probably an automatic C tier for me.
Okay, C tier. Sounds good. Sounds good. Adi, thoughts?
Do we have a like dedicated like Trick Room tier? Like you know how Wario is like the inverted Mario? We should have an inverted tier list for the Trick Room months.
So you think that the Trickermons are terrible and should be at the bottom? Wow. Wow.
Yeah, it's like W tier or something like that.
It feels like just as forced of a restricted duo as Kali Ice Lunala. I'm just gonna say it.
Yeah, right. I agree. Just no like natural synergies, just picking them exclusively for the Trick Room, 100%.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So let's talk about some real ones though. So starting off with ZSR, Shadow Rider Zama, Shadow Shield, as I like to call it, not because it's not confusing at all. What do you guys think about this one? Is it S, A, B, C, D? Is it truly F? You know, is it actually, you know, does it fall victim to its own kit? Is the mirror so miserable that you shouldn't even bother playing it? Let's start this time with Brian, and we'll kind of just like rotate who goes first. But Brian, what are your thoughts on ZSR?
Yeah, I don't remember what the letter said or what the word said in the boxes, but like it's so high S, it's like don't even bother going to Worlds if you don't have a matchup for this thing. And even if you have a matchup for this thing, you still might lose. Like it's that good.
Yeah. I think the thing that bothers me the most about it is that this is dishonest. This little like one bubble. It should have 8 bubbles here in the S tier because there are that many different teams that use this restricted pairing that you have to be ready for. And they play the game quite differently. Like the one that's like you have to be ready for Sash on the Shadow Rider. You have to be ready for the Life Orb one. You have to be ready for Life Orb next to Smeargle, Life Orb next to Clefairy, Life Orb next to Incin and Rilla. And you know sometimes they have all of them, sometimes they only have a couple of those things. But regardless, they're going to play very different game plans, and then sometimes they'll just not lead it. And you're like, I was ready for the Shadow Rider setting up Nasty Plot and sweeping me from turn 1 game plan. They put up this unbeatable wall Zamazenta that is completely going to stall out my much more aggressive approach than I needed to, and I'm gonna have to, you know, reverse my game plan. And so on top of that, not only can they be diverse in their game plans, but also one team plays very differently from the next.
I have now. You given me another anecdote from the T2 tournament run. The one team I played in day 1 that didn't have a right on it was CSR Zama, and they're in game 1 and game 3 they just decided they were dropping their restricteds and running the other 4. And they sniped a game. It's the Marco Fierro. They sniped a game with it. So yeah, I mean they could even do that. It really is. Yeah, no, I completely agree with everything you said. The team is so versatile. There's so many different ways to build it. They all have different weaknesses. Even each different CSR set has just like so drastically different weaknesses. The way you play against Encore is different than the way you play against Nasty Plot and the way you play against Pollen Puff. It's so frustrating to try to beat all the different variants. And Smeargle now being added to the team makes it even more dishonest. The only thing I have to say is I thought we were calling it Scooby Doo. I didn't realize ZSR was catching on. I don't know if I like that.
Scooby Doo. I've definitely been seeing a lot of people. I was building with Wolf the other day, and he was like, "Yeah, no, the Scooby Doo matchup with this team is not very good." And I was like, "Oh yeah, I agree." Then you know, okay. Moving on to the next, we actually have another really strong one here. And Adi, I'll have you start with it. This is the duo that Fede Campo used to win NAIC, so I'd say it's pretty good. Miraidon, Lunala. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's pretty good. I think it just won internats. That's a pretty big deal. I forget how it did at Japan Nationals, if it did especially well there, but I think it's an A tier just in terms of consistency. This has been the defensive backbone that has been front and center of this format. If you want to play like a slower, more methodical team, this is the team that's been doing consistently well from the first regional until this most recent event. It got second at Japan Nationals as well, right? So it's kind of only the one variant that's been doing very well. People are dropping the Grimmsnarl from the original version of the team, and kind of sticking to Whimsicott. But I just don't think the team is going anywhere, and I think that this is a very safe pick going into World Championships. And if you feel like you are the best pilot of the team, you have a decent chance of top cutting the World Championships. So definitely A tier for me.
Yeah, I guess the big question is, does it go higher or not? Brian, what do you think?
I think A is like pretty appropriate. I think the Lunala you could probably feel like it's lagging behind a little bit in the restricted department compared to Miraidon, especially. But I think the fact that it only has like one archetype, maybe two, kind of just wants me to put it in A tier. It feels
Right?
like you can like pretty easily be prepared for it. Now that being said, if you're gonna play against like a player like Fede Campo, you might not be safe, but like matchup wise, you probably want to go into worlds with like a positive matchup, and it's probably not too hard to achieve that.
Yeah, yeah. At least be ready for like you're saying that like at least the most typical strongest builds of it end up looking very similar. And so yeah. With that said, there is actually a very different direction that we kind of forgot to mention with it. There is the Calm Mind ones that are
Mm.
also doing kind of well. They're not as common for sure, and I don't imagine they'll be more common going forward. But there was a collection of players that still did well. In fact, we see one, two, three, four, four make day two with Justin Knox making it all the way to top 16 at a 10-2 record, using this Calm Mind Lunala, and yeah, I at that point it almost feels like a different team entirely, and so yeah, but it is still just kind of like two pairs of restricteds. And the one thing about this Calm Mind Lunala is, while it is a different Pokemon than Terapagos entirely, I do think that a lot of your anti-Calm Mind gameplay will be overlapping for Lunala and Pagos in a way sometimes. So yeah. Anyways, A seems accurate. A seems accurate, I think. So, um, all right, this next one, good one for me to start. I think that Ice Rider Miraidon is probably like C at best. Like that is the thing, is that it's really held back by its own kit, and it's not positive into this or that or a lot of the other ones that we're going to talk about. So I really don't think that people need to be worrying about it. That said, we did see it do really well in a lot of these online tournaments, so I guess people are just getting really lucky. Adi, what is that? Oh my god. But yeah, I think that at this point we could probably call it S. Now, I will fight to the death and say that it is not S higher than Shadow Rider Zama. I think that that is just cap, but I think that it is probably better than Ice Rider Miraidon. Miraidon Lunala. Just because, again, kind of like back to the versatility, there are a couple of different ways that people are running it. You know, you can run Leech Seed Leftovers, you can run Clamulet, you can run Scarf on your ride on Assault Vest or Specs. All of those are seeing success. And these choices are going to drastically change how you approach it. And so that doesn't mean that you get to run all of them when you choose to run this at the World Championships, but it does mean that it's a pairing that is harder to beat because it's a bit of a moving target. All right, let's throw it
Thank
over
you for the
to
raid, Bruno.
yeah. Thank you for
Appreciate
the
it.
raid. What's up? What's up, people? Come on in. You missed us talking about your team, Bruno, by a little bit, but we'll probably bounce back to it at least a little bit when we talk about the archetype, because we're kind of ranking some of the metagame teams now. But yeah, I'm gonna throw it over to Audie now. Audie, what are your thoughts on it? Is it actually lower than S? Is it higher than S?
I just said it was moving up on my list of teams to beat this weekend. After this weekend, it's crazy that it's almost like standardizing around one or two like variants of it. When I do think it has a lot of flexibility, and we've seen a lot of different versions do well. The one version I think is maybe a standout is the Bingji version, um, that has been popping up more and more with the Annihilate. I think we saw that do well at Singapore Nationals as well. we saw that do well in one of these grassroots tours. So yeah, I think like it just does have a lot of cool different ways to address its problems, and especially now, you can see right here, like wow, there's a pretty decent mix of leech seed and high horsepower. So leftovers and clear amulet, which is also really interesting because now it means that you can't when everyone was clear amulet, you could really like hone your game plans in on that. And then everyone moved to leftovers, and that just required a very different set of responses and different like ways to win the game. And so now, yeah, the fact that you can't really predict which one you're going to face more of, you have to account for both. It makes it so much harder to build to beat this Pokemon as well.
Mm-hmm. Brian, what about you?
Yeah, I think I was kind of like unsure whether it was going to be S or A. In my opinion, it was kind of like straddling the line, but I think what Adi just said kind of like convinced me it's an S tier. Just the versatility and like diversity of teams that you can kind of build with it is pretty terrifying. Like there's also
Mm-hmm.
like the Farigiraf versions with Tailwind and things like that, but I think the fact that people have kind of honed in on like achieving an actual bolt beam speed sandwich with the scarf version is like pretty scary, and they've also just kind of put the best pieces around it for everything. So now it's like this balanced team where you're actually speed sandwiching them, and you also just have really bulky, annoying pieces to deal with every matchup. That's pretty terrifying. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I would still consider it slightly weaker than Calyrex Shadow Zama, and I'm not sure I can exactly like quantify why. I think it's maybe the versatility is like kind of hurting it in that aspect as well, because maybe there's just more holes you can poke through with it being such a flexible team. But again, not really backed by anything other than just kind of vibes.
Right. Yeah, no. All right. That's and so I am gonna just try to keep us moving because there are a lot of them. So let's go ahead and move on right next to the Miraidon Zamazenta pair. And yeah, I think Brian, you're actually up first again on this one, and it's definitely on the rise. But how high will it rise? What's your take on it?
I think it's like like a like high B tier. I think
Mm-hmm.
like in my mind, it doesn't seem like Zama supports Miraidon that well. It's just a good piece in general, which is maybe good enough, but I feel like Miraidon wants a bit more of like a proactive partner, whether that's like setting up Trick Room in matchups that it can't go fast enough, like with Lunala or Ice Rider, I guess, or where it's like got that sandwich effect.
Mm-hmm. I'll jump in next on this one, and I'm gonna fight it a little. I do feel like it's probably up to A, with how well it's doing right now. And mainly, it's just that it took people a while. It's a very silly thing to realize the true tie that binds these two Pokemon. And Justin Tang had it, but of course he wasn't the first to run this, and that's the Chen Pao. I feel like the Chen Pao is the link between these two restricteds that just creates multiple deadly combos that you have to be ready because they require a bit different counterplay. Whereas like Zamazenta Chen Pao is more so like doing overwhelming physical damage, whereas Chen Pao and Miraidon is like a coverage nightmare. Like you're not going to be able to just resist those two attacks, kind of like we talked about with Ice Rider. And so on top of that, this is just three Pokemon, so you can go whatever way you want to with the rest of the three. In this case, I think these three Pokemon do a good job of covering specific matchups, but I think we've been seeing some other versions on the rise as well in terms of partners. And so, like, I think there was like a Whimsicott version that did well from Zine here, and kind of making it like an Arubega upgrade or update, I guess. And so I feel like it's maybe A, and so we're gonna throw it over to the deciding tiebreaker. Adi, do you think it's A or B?
That's hard because I could see it going either way. It really does feel like it's on the fence. My concern is that we are not going to spread out this tier list enough, and so I am leaning towards top of B tier. And if we decide B tier is worse, maybe we move it up. But no, it
Mm-hmm.
is a very good team. It's they do I think it's again one of those like more recent metagame developments. Eric Rios found a new way to build it. But in these like last couple of weeks in these grassroots tours, it actually hasn't had very good results. How much should we weigh that versus like the run at NAIC that Eric Rios had? I don't know. But yeah, I'm not sure if it actually has staying power. One of the things that I think it really struggles with that we've seen a lot more of is Volcarona, which is really good into both these guys, and also good into Chen Pao. And so with the rise of Volcarona, where it was kind of everywhere this weekend, that might be a reason for concern for the longevity of this archetype.
Stone Edge Zamazenta. Next question. All right.
Good point.
let's throw it over to you again, Adi, for Terapagos and Miraidon. A bit more of a specific one. Not a ton of people using it, but go ahead.
Yeah, so this is actually the combo that I used at NAIC as well, and I went 2-3, so I have negative feelings towards it. I brought it to a Victory Road Tour last weekend. I went 5-3. And so, yeah, I don't think it's very good. I think that it was a very specific meta call that made sense in Italy, where there was a ton of Caloric Shadow Zamazenta and had a very good matchup into all the Caloric Shadow teams. But I think it has a pretty awful matchup into the Miraidon Zamazenta team that we saw. We saw Eric Rios versus Francisco on stream, and that was just a bloodbath. That was a very one-sided match. So it's got that matchup to figure out. But I also really think it was just sort of a very good meta call, and a couple players got really good at using it. Once people have it on their list of teams to prep against, it's going to do a lot worse at the World Championships. I don't know if it's going to have the staying power. Yes, it's done well in these grassroots tour recently, but my hot take is that I think this team does not have the staying power. I think it's going to be a C tier team.
Looks like it's got like a top 16 here as well. I'm just checking myself. Brian, what about you?
I think it's like, I don't know. It's tough. Like, I think you were saying, it doesn't have the most results in the world right now. I think Francesco is by far the best player at using this. He's put up consistent results and he got top 8 at NAIC. So, I mean, I don't think I've ever seen it being used at its full potential other than when he's using it, maybe, but I'm not too convinced. I think it's top of C, bottom B.
Yeah, I think we can leave it in C then, because it's just not one that, outside of a couple of players, that you should be very, very scared of. And also, it's also one that, only if you're running certain archetypes should you be fearing for it. And of course, if it's going to be targeting what we're saying is maybe the highest pairing, the number one pairing, then there's always going to be some merit to it if you want to just target some of the players who want to spam what's best. But then, you have to consider that even at its peak, even if it's like a very strong pairing, I can't remember what the usage was at NAIC, but it's like, it's not, going to be in the majority of your rounds unless you get a very specific schedule. You're going to be playing mostly other stuff. It's not like over 50% or anything like that in terms of usage. So you're targeting a team that is going to be 3 to 4 of your rounds at best, maybe more if you get lucky. Okay, moving on to the other Pagos team. It is nice that they lined up because they have very similar vibes. I almost feel like this one's like a little bit lower. Like, you could say it's D now, but the problem is, like, yeah, you never want to like count it out. There are definitely some very dedicated players to this one, but it's not seeming very popular right now. In fact, I think I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the players who enjoyed Pagos gameplay maybe jumped over to this one to try it because it was the new version of theirs that gave it some spark of life. But yeah, this is one that I'll never sleep on it, but I think a lot of the counterplay to it is going to be overlapping with this one, C for Calm Mind, because, like, yeah, just all of these Calm Mind ones, like, I kind of end up having, like, very similar responses, some very similar approaches of attack to them when it comes to just, like, how I want to deal with them, and that doesn't scream diverse and scary to me. It's very limited in how it approaches games. Adi, what do you think?
Actually, I'm gonna let Brian talk first because you just want a tournament with it.
That's fair.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was like, we're not even talking about the specs version. I mean,
that's fair.
That's the good
C
one.
for choice
right?
specs.
Exactly. Well, actually, I was gonna say, I think going into NAIC, I thought the team, like our specific version, had pretty good matchups in general. And then after NAIC, I had the complete opposite impression. I was like, I don't know what happened in like a week or two, but it seems like way rougher now. And I still feel that way even after winning a tournament. I still don't think even the specs version, and I'm not just saying that, like, hope like meta manipulation. Right?
Meta manipulation in the chat, please. Everyone, meta manipulation in the chat.
That's fair, but I genuinely think it doesn't have the best matchups in the world. I was gonna say the specs version gets probably like a low B, and if you're using the Calm Mind version, that's like a high D. I don't know what you're doing still using that version. It's very slow and boring and like easily exploitable. So I think a C is a good common ground.
Honestly,
I also think it's D tier.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay. Yeah, my one pushback for the calm mindset being washed is that because I do think it's C tier. I think it's pretty comparable to the Miraidon version. I don't know which one. I really don't know which one's stronger because Calyrex has better natural synergy, but Miraidon like might be the stronger Pokemon. But yeah, I think that for me, I look at the list of players who used CSR with Combine Pagos at NAIC. And like, yes, didn't have any really good finishes. There were only 2 in day 2. There were very few good players who chose to use that team. A lot of the good players switched off onto the Miraidon version. Santino is obviously the best known player who used the team. But I know Santino did not like come into this tournament with a ton of preparation either. So like and he still did very well with it. This is a team that had like the highest win rate overall early format. And again, questionable whether it had the staying power, but I'm hesitant to write it off entirely when people who use it continue to do fairly well. Like they and it's a consistently above average team. So I think it's a pretty C tier team to me for me.
So boring. Calm Mind, dude. These Calm Mind teams, I just don't know how you have the patience. Anybody. All right, then on to Shadow Rider Miraidon. Now, this is one that, I'll be honest, I made my own personal, not like a tier list, but kind of a list of teams to beat. There's not a team that features this pairing in it. So if you want to farm me specifically at the World Championships, maybe build a really good team featuring these two, because I might be sleeping on it. Regardless, though, this is also that pairing that I think Jono won a VictoryRoad tournament with, and then MDB had a very funny video flaming it, saying like this team is terrible. And of course it was all in good fun. He's just like, gassing it up for or gassing it down. I don't know, is that a thing? Regardless, for stream. And yeah, I just think that this one is very, very they're just both fast. Why are we using 2 fast special attackers? It just feels meh. I realized I probably wasn't supposed to start for this one, so I apologize. I think it was Brian's turn anyways. Brian, what are your thoughts on this one?
I would say like high D, low C is fair. I think it's like it feels like too strong to put in D just because they're so strong restricted, but like paired together, yeah, it's probably not the best. So I would say high D, low C.
Howdy.
I think it's D tier, but I will flag that Masahiro Ito did get top 8 at the VictoryRoad Tour with this weekend. He also made day 2 at NASC with this team. I think that version is like just very strong. It's very it just plays to the strengths of both the guys. You get to use Chiyu on a team with CSR and Miraidon, so you're just doing like 1 million damage. It is a hyper offensive core, so it's inherently unstable. And you can run things like Verograph, Iron Hands to try to stabilize it. You can just run a lot of bulk on your Miraidon to try to stabilize it. But you are going to have to, make some reads to win with it. But I really do think that this team is a little underrated. That being said, its big flaw is that it does lose to Ursaluna a little bit, and Ursaluna did just win NAIC. It is generally on the downturn, but it did just win NAIC, so I wouldn't. If Friday didn't win NAIC, I would be higher on this archetype. But now I think I'm pretty low on it.
It also loses to Calm Mind. Loses pretty hard to Calm Mind, funnily enough. At least I think it would. All right. On to the next one. Ghost Rider, I think, is one of the names for this one. Koraidon and Shadow Rider. There are, what people thought originally, like, I guess initially it seemed like these two were not the... No, sorry. Initially, people thought they were going to be good because it was, fighting type synergy with your Shadow Rider. Then it was like, oh, it's bad. They're both very fast, and that's like kind of exploitable. And then it was good because of the wheezing one, when people started using it with wheezing. And now, on top of that, Agati has shown a bit of a new route for it. Will people pick this up? It does seem like one of the least easy to pilot teams. Of the teams that did well at NAIC, I definitely don't see the average Joe just taking this and making it scary for you. It's a really cool team, but regardless, yeah, I don't actually know where to put this one. Does anyone have any ideas? Adi?
I have opinions. Oh, I always have opinions. I think it's A tier. I think it's hard to write off a team that won a regional in Melbourne and it got second at Portland regionals. It continues to pop up in basically every tour. I guess it didn't really do very well in Victory Road, but I see it at Singapore Nats. There were 2 in top 8 that we're looking at. Then again, both are using Weezing. I think Weezing is kind of the reason to use this guy. This combo. It's very, very strong. And yeah, it doesn't stop doing well at tournaments. And it's a very popular combination. And so I think it's an A tier. I could see it being B tier, but yeah, that's my take.
Brian?
Yeah, I think A tier makes sense because if I look at like Miraidon Zama, I'm definitely more scared to play against Kali Shadow Koraidon, and that's kind of like regardless of what team it is. I think there's also like still some room for innovation. I've seen some people on like ladder using teams that kind of look like Agatis, but like have just more generic balance pieces like Rilla and like Smeargle and stuff like that. So I think there's still room for improvement there, and I think it's still scarier than everything below it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely one that I'm wanting to have real answers to more than some of the other stuff. So I like A. A feels probably right for it. It's on the edge of A and B, but I think A. I could swing that way. Double bike, yo, double bike. I think double bike might be planted where it is, which is funny because I put all these in F tier, just so that we didn't have to sort through them in the bottom list here. But I genuinely don't know if it's worthy of moving up. Sorry, ESM, but the synergy is kind of tough. Dewabafet did put up a very cool team at NAIC featuring both of them. It's actually gonna take me a while to find it, huh? Is it gonna be? It's not 1 of 1, right? Did I pass it already? Correct. On 3 people.
Yes, 3.
Um. Oh, dude, Michael wasn't even the only Michael using double bike. That's crazy. I did not know that. Yeah, Leonard's team, very cool. It featured the Electric Seed on the Koraidon, so they actually do have synergy. You're stupid for saying that they don't, Alex. What did you mean? Orichalcum Pulse does boost the power of body press for people that aren't aware, because it's kind of just like a physical base power buff, and so it does basically almost as much damage as Zamazenta. Like it does put up some very solid numbers, and yeah, just a very, very goofy team. You'll see other teams like I think some of the we're going to get to it later, but the Groudon Miraidon teams end up looking very similar, featuring things that keep the Ice Riders in check, whether it's Incineroar or Volcarona or Reflect. Hell, I mean, even the Koraidon's doing its job to keep Ice Rider in check on this team. I didn't even mention the Treads. Yeah. Let's throw it over to Brian. What do you think about Double Bike? Does it deserve to go up higher than F?
Probably not. It was my only argument for it was going to be like Rising Voltage, Raging Bolt, but I feel like that's probably what we're going to look at when we get to Groudon Miraidon. So I don't really think that's enough of a reason. So I think F is perfectly acceptable.
All right. All right.
Yep.
All right.
Keep it there.
Adi, do you have thoughts on Miraidon Kyogre? This one, I didn't even want to put it in, so I'm going to throw it to you because I think you were the one that told me to put it in.
I think it's D tier. I'm trying to figure out if I gotta see if it did well anywhere except for at that one European regional, but it did go undefeated in Swiss at the one European regional.
That was cool.
And so, yeah, it was a really strong team. It has not, yeah. Well, this is not the version that I'm scared of. I'll tell you that. But I don't know. I just think it's a combo that has a lot of potential. I think it was Nick Holmer who did really well with it at Utrecht regionals. That's I know that's like an obscure shout, but that's a team that has been, I've been thinking about as this team probably has a lot of potential as another like hyper offensive Kyogre core that people might not be ready for. And if you're looking for like a pick that people are like, if you're looking for a pick for worlds that people are really not going to prepare for, and that you could potentially steamroll some opponents, I think this is you could do a lot worse than Miraidon Kyogre. And so, yeah, I think it's a team that, should you prepare for it, it's definitely not a high priority, and you're not going to expect what it looks like whenever you do see it. But I do think that combo has a lot of potential as another like hyper offense Miraidon core.
I'm gonna have to agree with Adi here in that I would love to see more of my world's opponents considering these D tier teams. Yeah, definitely consider these. If you want to catch me off guard, please do. I would honestly get me, prank me. Brian, what are your thoughts on Swordfish? Where do you put it?
Swordfish, pretty. I think the restricted. I'll go B. I'll go B just below Miraidon Zama. I think that makes sense. I think it's kind of there's like one team that's that you can reasonably run with it, and it's pretty good. It's got pretty much the tools for everything. So, is it like the best team in the format? Not necessarily, but is it something you should respect? Probably. So B seems appropriate.
Right. Adi, what do you think?
Sorry, what was the archetype again?
Swordfish.
Swordfish. Yeah, I think B is about right. It's doing well when it does well. The people who use it generally are very practiced with it, and I think it has its pretty fundamental flaws, but it's common enough that I would call it B tier. Yeah.
I would have thought you guys
In terms of how strong I
since...
actually think it is, I think it's C tier. But in terms of how represented it is, I think it's B tier.
Sure, we can leave it in B. I was gonna fight for C, but seeing as you both have already mentioned B, kind of, I'll leave it there. Again, not trying to manipulate because it can be a little bit annoying for Miraidon Ice Rider sometimes, but I don't know. I think actually at this point, Shieldfish, I'm gonna bump that up to the front here because it feels like very similar. I feel like Shieldfish ends up being a little bit more potent lately. Zacian just doesn't. I think what the thing I don't like about that is that you want to be switching a lot with Kyogre for weather control reasons or resetting your weather. And Zacian doesn't really do a good job of switching, especially because it wants to keep that +1, but also Intimidate will kind of ruin its day. Intimidate doesn't ruin Zamazenta's day. I know that Kyogre's supposed to scare off the Insins, but the Insin will kind of just like lead against your Zacian and then get out of there before any kind of repercussions come. I think that Zamazenta with the rain giving it one less weakness, and you can't really use ground types safely against the Kyogre either. It protects it very well, and it makes the Zama very difficult to remove. So I think that the two of them can be pretty good together. So I wouldn't say that I'd put it any lower than Swordfish. In fact, I'd probably put it above it, but definitely not stronger than Miraidon Zamazenta. Miraidon Zamazenta is one that I feel like is teetering on the edge of A, whereas this one, it feels very firmly B. Any other thoughts on it?
I think you nailed it.
I agree with all that.
Cool. Nothing else to elaborate on, but my points are justified. Now, very obscure reference for anybody that gets that one. Anyways, Miraidon, Groudon. This one, it's actually on the rise as well. And yeah, it did well at Japan Nats. I think a top 8 finish. I wouldn't say you're not going to see any like widespread numbers for anything Groudon related. It is supposed to be obscure. It is supposed to be one that's targeting weaknesses that you might not know your team had because you weren't ready for it. And that is, I think it can work really well. I mean, I'm going to throw it over to Adi as somebody who was using Groudon this past weekend. You might not have used exactly this duo, but what do you think of it?
No, I think you have the numbers pulled up too. So okay, you had the Groudon numbers pulled up, and what I found was that there were 5 Groudon in day 2 of NAIC. There were 3 Miraidon Groudon and 2 Ice Rider Groudon, and so you can kind of see where people are building towards with Groudon. Groudon inherently has a very big Kyogre weakness, and so having the best restricted into Kyogre is naturally very good. And this is like Groudon Miraidon seems to be the version that people are leaning towards. Not only did it get top 8 at Japan Nationals, but they were 3 in top 16 at Japan Nationals, which is pretty crazy. So it was very common there. Mao Harada, I believe, used it at NAIC. He was one of the people to make day 2 with it. And so and even then, I think there's a few different ways that people have built it. There isn't like one defined way that people have decided to build out this team. So again, it's one of those things that I think has some room to be developed, some room to really figure out the ideal version of it. Now, the downside is like if you're picking this team, you are like accepting that you're not using the strongest team in the room, which is the downside, right? Like obviously, these Groudon is not as strong or restricted as Shadow Rider, as Ice Rider, as even Koraidon. But the upside is that you get to use some of the strongest like Sun abusers in the format, like Raging Bolt, or like Fluttermane, or even like Volcarona as a Sun abuser that we saw Mao use. So yeah, I don't know. I just think that it's got a lot of potential. I still think it's in D tier in terms of actual results, but again, just like the Kyogre Miraidon team, I think that it's a core that people might not prepare for as much as they should going into the World Championships, and so you could do a lot worse.
Brian, do you think it needs to be
Probably the top
higher,
of D.
lower?
I think D tier, the sandwiched in between the two we had before there, makes sense to me. I think it enables a lot more like other strong Pokemon like Raging Bolt, which like Miraidon Kyogre doesn't quite do. But it's not like inherently as strong as Cali Shadow Miraidon. So I think I would have it in between those two. But yeah, D tier makes
I
sense.
played against Mao personally, and this archetype was so scary strong, and especially if the Groudon is hitting everything, that like there's nothing you can do. Sometimes like there's especially teams that aren't ready for it exploiting all the ground weaknesses. There are a lot of teams that aren't ready for ground damage to be as strong as it is because it's like a little more rogue. Yeah, there's some Landorus's, there's some Ursalunas, but having a spread ground move like that can be really strong, especially out of Pokemon as tanky as Groudon. So I personally would have put it in C, but seeing as you both said D, I will just settle for kind of meeting in the middle and putting it at the top of D. Now
Yeah.
on to
I do want to point out Parabolic Charge. We haven't mentioned it, but that is a move that both Brian Fortier and Mao both used on their
yeah.
AV Miraidon with Groudon, which is pretty cool.
I think I told this one already, but when I played against Mao, I doubled into that thing trying to KO it in one hit, and I hit it down to 90. Like I did 90% of its health, and then it parabolic charged off my Urshifu and Chen Pao and their own Incineroar, and just went back to full. And I thought about forfeiting on turn 2, but I played it out. Regardless, it was so bad. I
You're
felt
kind of
like it was
selling
like
me on
my
this now.
worst. What's that?
I'm starting to be convinced. That sounds pretty
Yeah,
strong.
yeah. It's pretty cool. All right, this one is a bit of a stronger one. We've talked about a couple of weaker ones in a row, I feel. So, White Whale. Gavin ended up winning Portland with this duo. And, yeah, I think that it's pretty strong. There was a very good group of players that ended up using it. Xiaoyang's group decided that that was the way to go for NAIC, and a good number of them made it through to the second day. I think the notable thing that separates them is the Smeargle. Here we go. And so, yeah, that's a pretty good amount of 9-3s on this team, and I wouldn't be surprised. You know, Xiaoyang didn't end up making it to the second day, but always creates teams that you got to watch out for, ones that you really want to respect. And so, I think this is a very good duo. How high would I put it? I'd probably say I think A. I don't know. I'm gonna throw it over to Brian first this time. Brian, what do you think?
I was gonna say B. I think it's probably feels just as strong as the other two Kyogre cores, but
Mm-hmm.
maybe having Trick Room and like getting to use other partners like Smeargle and Amoonguss and I guess like Fluttermane. Maybe those speed control options make it a bit stronger than the other two, but I don't really have strong opinions on this one, so I'll leave it to
Howdy.
Hadi.
I also think it's A tier. It got third at Japan Nationals as well. I think the Smeargle Mousehold version, which is kind of strange, right? But yeah, I do think that it's got it won a regional. It top cut NAIC. It's not something that I would feel comfortable disrespecting going into Worlds. Although now that I'm looking at A tier, I do feel like Miraidon and Mazenta should probably be an A tier because I think it's pretty comparable to that, but it's pretty substantially stronger than the other two Kyogre teams. So I would be, yeah, I think that like,
If you're agreeing with me with that, I
I
already
think that,
wanted this in A tier, so I'm moving it up.
yeah, I know. I think it probably is supposed to be there because I do think that Ice Rider, Kyogre, and Miraidon and Mazenta are probably comparable in terms of my like threat list.
I'm organizing the things within the tiers because we are not getting into the weeds of like A plus and A minus. But if we did A plus and A minus, that would probably separate things a little bit more. So for the most part, we have. I mean, there's a few enough items on this list that everything is ordered for the most part. Anyways, next up we have Ice Age. Ice Age, a very fun name for a very bad duo. Very sad. That has not really had some strong showings. Brian, do you have any thoughts on Ice Age, Calyrex Ice, and Koraidon?
It seemed like it got off to a pretty hot start at Red Eye. It had some pretty cool teams that had some decent results, but it just really hasn't like materialized into anything other than that. So I think probably F or low D is probably where it belongs.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's F. I feel like I would put it in low D. And to be fair, I would.
Yeah.
This one in D is still just criminal to me. I think that this probably goes here. It's probably better than these. Yeah. Maybe not better than the Shadow Rider Miraidon. Adi, what do you think?
Oh, I was also in between F and D tier.
Tough. All right, fair enough.
Just because like I do think that it probably is it probably as good as Miraidon Kyogre? Yes. Does it have the same potential that Miraidon Kyogre has? I don't think so. I think that you can build a Miraidon Kyogre team that no one's expecting and do very well. I don't know if you can build a Koraidon Ice Rider team that no one's expecting that will do very well.
It's crazy to me because like we see two of them made day 2 with this one. I had it open to everybody that earned points, Adi, and we saw a single Alolan Raichu team for that other archetype. It was the Kyogre Miraidon. Like I just think of the 1,000 people at NAIC, not a single one. That's just where I'm at with it. But also we're talking about the difference between 2 D tier teams, so who really cares? At the end of the day.
It probably is better. I just think that like there's less room to build it out. There's only so many ways that you can build that team out, and none of them are very impressive to me.
Better, somebody in the chat says better Sun Ice Rider team incoming, and is that true? I mean, maybe a little. I'm not that passionate about Ice Rider Groudon, but it had also exactly 2 day 2s, just like the Koraidon Ice Age stuff did.
Memes and Dreams is Noah Gardner, our person in chat. So he's
I Noah Gardner is Memes and Dreams. I see. Okay. Yeah. Adi?
Oh, is it my turn?
I don't know. I'm picking.
I don't know if I believe in this combination as much as I believe in Miraidon. I just don't know, like, what they cover for, right? Like, man, in terms of tiers, I guess it's probably D tier as well. But I don't know, man. I could see this being an F tier, but I also think it's just as good as I think it probably is better than Koraidon Ice Rider. So I guess it's probably D tier. I would not use this though personally.
Yeah.
They just don't have synergy. What are they doing together? Are you setting up Trick Room for your Groudon? Like, then you have to hit your Precipice Blades. You get like one shot in Trick Room.
By the way, Mike, responding to your take, I think Pagos Miraidon, I didn't quite get into it, but I feel like it's a bit of a matchup fish. Maybe I did get into it. I think it's just if you hit a lot of Shadow Rider Zamas, you're gonna have a great time. I think if you go up against other teams that are ready for what this team is doing, especially now that it's more known, the novelty is starting to wear off, I think that it's not going to be as strong. It's just a slightly different flavor of like, let me plant my Pagos in the field and leave it there forever and rotate the cast around it. The cast is a little bit different, but the gameplay is the same.
Okay. What I've come to figure out about Groudon Ice Rider is that the reason it's good is it's because it's the team that uses Raging Bolt the best. Both these guys really like Raging Bolt, and they both allow Raging Bolt to work to its full potential. So if that's something that you're really into, then maybe you can use this combo. But yeah, I don't know. I still don't believe
Raging Bolt the best. Personally, I see. It might just be the best archetype. Anyways, Hard Trick Room. Brian, we gotta throw it to you for this one. Ice Rider Lunala.
Well, it's got one team that's done anything, and it's been pretty good. It won one of the nationals. Johnny won that one. But like, it's so like forced to me that I don't know if it's actually good. I just like it might just be the only thing that makes sense for a Hard Trick Room team. That being said, it's still pretty decent, and like Hard Trick Room is okay. So I think like high D, maybe low C.
I'm with you there.
I'd feel a bit wrong if it was lower than Terrapagos CSR just for the sheer fact that the Combine team is still out there, and I hate that team. But if it's lower, it's lower.
Right.
No, I
Howdy?
think it's C tier. I think it's C tier. I think that it's established. It can win a tournament. It's not the most common, but it's something that is like I will prep for going into Worlds, and I will want to know my lines, even if it's not a deal breaker if I have a bad matchup into it. And I think that's probably pretty comparable to the other C tier teams. I think they're all capable of winning a tournament, at least right now. And I do think that the Hard Trick Room team has more room, has a lot of room to be built out, and has like a lot of room to spike a tournament.
Lunadon. I think it's not moving. Good old Lunadon. Sorry. I wonder if anybody used
Alex,
it
what were your
anyways.
thoughts on Hard Trick Room? You're also a Hard Trick Room player.
Yeah, I am a bit of a Hard Trick Room guy. I think it's pretty meh. I'm not huge on it. That said, it did make my list of like teams that I actually want to be, but only because I don't want to lose to anybody using it. It feels like a team that, again, kind of matchup fishing. A lot of the times, though, you will get by against a Hard Trick Room team because it is chosen by, sorry to say it, but by weaker players. There are only a small group of like really strong Trick Room players that you want to watch out for. And if it's not one of those, you can get by just knowing how to protect every other turn and how to defensively switch. Those are some of the things that can really ruin a hard Trick Room team's day. Sometimes it's just something as simple as just having wide guard on your team is enough to really keep these teams from mowing you down. So it's one that you could probably practice and come up with a good game plan for. Again, that would work against only the most wouldn't get, but only the good players will beat you basically. And there's not many good players running it. Did Lunadon get points though? Lunala. Oh, it did. It did not make day 2 though. No. In fact, 3 of them involved Lilligant Hisui. I love that. That's pretty funny.
And the other two have Jump Bluff on them. I didn't realize Joe brought this team.
Yeah. I didn't actually wait, you're right. Joe brought good old Lunadon. He must have just wanted to have some fun. That's so funny. Oh man, you just wanted to go back. He said take me back, put me in a time machine. Yeah, it's not budging. And Koala also not budging. I'm kidding, of course, but how much am I kidding? It feels really rough right now. Wolf brought it and lost his winning in. Funnily enough, in the mirror, so like at least a Koala, Koraidon Lunala build made it to the second day from that match no matter what. But yeah, it seems like only Geo is doing well with it, Giovanni Shishki. And you know what? I'm gonna crash out because this is something that's really funny to me. I brought it up in some in Tub and team building servers, but basically Geo is pissing me off unintentionally. He doesn't even know that he's pissing me off. But every time I talk about, like, somebody will come to me in a coaching session and they'll be like, "Oh, I like this this pairing Koraidon Lunala," and I'll be like, "Well, this is the best team to use it. It does really bad into Grimmsnarl. Grimmsnarl is really annoying for it because this team is built around doing a lot of like Okos and stuff like that. And if it can't quite Oko, Koraidon gets Oko'd in return, and that's bad. And it really sucks. And Grimmsnarl is just so annoying for it. And Geo, yeah, how many Grimmsnarls did he play at NAIC? It might not be immediately easy to recognize. I can zoom in for some people. But I can give you the spoiler answer. There's no Grimmsnarls here at NAIC. And I actually, was asking this question after he did very well at Portland. I was like, all right, this team, Grimmsnarl's still very potent right now. How is he doing well in such a Grimmsnarl infested metagame? And here, I'll give you a quick another zoom if you want to take a quick look. How many Grimmsnarls did he play and however many rounds? 2 entire tournaments. Both Portland and NAIC without playing Grimmsnarl. And you know what? Like, he might have beaten it. It's not like it's a literal auto loss to Grimmsnarl, but it still just perplexes me in a very funny way. And this is actually what helped me realize the Grimmsnarl thing about like how it fell off the graphic going into day 2 is I didn't even like really pay attention to that until I was like, oh, I guess it had pretty low usage in day 2 of NAIC. It makes a bit more sense for him to dodge Grimmsnarl for so long. But yeah, I'm gonna have to ask him at some point, like if he wanted to dodge Grimmsnarl or whatever, because like that is just so funny to dodge a Pokemon that has as much usage as that thing does for so long. Back on topic though, Brian, where do you think Koala belongs?
Well, based on your analysis, if that's the case, you should keep using it because Grimmstrow's still on the way down. But
It is.
I would say probably C tier because it's like
Mm-hmm.
there's really only one version, but it is very strong. Maybe it's B. I think it might be B. I think it might be low B.
Audie?
Low B is my final answer.
The B and C tier are very close. I'll say that. I actually am just gonna punt this to you, Alex. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that this one goes down because it has just been going down and down. And well, Grimmsnarl is going down too, and maybe that would help it rise back up. I just think that it's not as potent as some other pairings. Like if you want to be running Lunala with Ursaluna, pick the Fede Compo team. And if you want to be running Koraidon, I would maybe be looking at the Wheezing Shadow Rider stuff, or even Agate's team or variants of it. I just feel like even though these two seemed really cool together early on, one fast, one slow, they kind of like, create a bit of a speed sandwich situation for themselves. It's just kind of been a rough look for them lately. I think mainly the fact that both of them are weak to Shadow Rider's stabs does not help. Like off the rip, you are already dealing with some annoyances there. You can only wide guard for so long, or you can only Terra one Pokemon per match. That definitely makes things hard. So I would put it in C. I would even put it below the Miraidon Pagos team. The Miraidon Pagos team feels like it's teetering on the edge of getting up to B. And I think the Groudon Miraidon team definitely needs to go up to C, but that's just me. And we're on to
I think I agree with this being C tier as well, with Koala being C.
Yeah.
If you want to move the Miraidon team up, we can, but it does not have the same results that all these other teams have, in my opinion. But it does feel better than the D tier team, so I don't know.
Yeah, I've just been seeing it on the rise. Ladder, seeing some strong players pick it up, it feels like. So definitely feel like it's one that you don't want to get caught sleeping on entirely going into Worlds. And lastly, we've got...
I think that you could get caught sleeping on it entirely unbiased.
Sure. Now we've got Kyurem Black and Miraidon as the last one here. And Audie, I'll have you start with this one.
Yeah, well, I faced a Kyurem in top cut of Victory Road. It was not this team, but
Nope.
and it was Kyurem White, not Kyurem Black. But they did win a game, and they did bring Kyurem to that game. So as a result, I think it probably is like the best Pokemon I've ever seen, best win rate I've ever seen. Probably S tier, maybe A tier. I don't know. Do you think this is an S plus tier we could put it in?
We'll add S plus just for this archetype. Yeah, I did put this one in as a bit. Can you actually remove them now? I feel like that's a change to tier list maker. I feel like you used to not be able to take things out once they were in. But yeah, I don't know. That one is funny to me. I will say one of the best archetypes to not be represented in the chosen images is probably like anything Ho-Oh related. I would put Ho-Oh in D or maybe F. Sorry, Audie, I know that it was your GOAT early on, but let me ask your thoughts on Ho-Oh before we wrap things up here.
Yeah, it is kind of strange there's no Miraidon Ho-Oh on this tier list in this Koraidon and Terapagos Ho-Oh. I wonder when it was made. But
Right.
But yeah, no, I think there's an argument for Ho-Oh Miraidon to be in C tier, but I think it is probably on teetering into D tier, and probably realistically in D tier. It has no results at all. I did see that Casty top cut the Victory Road Tour with it, the very last seed. So there is like one result recently, but that's like kind of it. It just has not. There was not a single one that got points at Bologna. I think. Is that right? Or Utrecht, one of the European tournaments. It really fell off.
All right, chat. Do you guys have any other suggestions that you want me to like really shoot down in the chat? Because please keep them coming. I mean, Koraidon Pagos. Sure, it did have a 9 and 3 at NAIC. That's pretty decent. I could maybe put it in D tier. For
I need the Rayquaza Miraidon. Where's that at?
Right? It's not even on the list, is it?
No.
And somebody else was talking about Giratina. I don't think there's a single Giratina represented in here at all. Which is very funny. I think Giratina might have gotten What is it? I'm gonna guess
It may do
5.
two. Hobbit may do two. With it.
2. Only 2. And
Yeah,
I have the whole tournament, right? Oh, in terms of point earners, dang, only 2 earned points. I think somebody played both of them. I remember we were looking at this the other day. I would have to go to the standings site. But yeah, I think that's going to be it for this week. So, like we said, the summer is kind of when Pokemon slows down a bit, and so we're going to try to be finding some other topics to talk about. If you have any, definitely mention them in the chat or in the YouTube comments. We'll be reading those for ideas of things that you want to hear us yap about, of course, because the alternative is us taking break weeks and stuff, and we'd rather not do that. We'd love to keep providing content and stuff, so yeah, help us out with ideas. We'll of course do some brainstorming on our own as well. We're not going to just completely leave it to y'all. But yeah, again, Brian, thank you for being on. It was fun talking with you. I appreciated your takes.
Yeah, it was great to be back. Thanks for having me.
So yeah, I'll probably have to go take a quick look to see who we're going to throw the raid over to. I should mention this is going to be on YouTube tomorrow, so if you were here earlier, but you were not here earlier, you only got in late, if you came from the raid or whatever, and you want to check out the rest of this, it will be uploaded on YouTube tomorrow, or if YouTube is your preferred medium, then no problem there. Go check us out. And if you're watching on YouTube, Audie always likes to mention, come join us on Twitch. We do a couple of different types of streams here. Don't mess up your mic. Where yeah, we might do some ladder, might do some tournaments, might do some other stuff. Yeah, come by, it's a good time. And yeah, with that, that's going to be it for this one. So y'all take care and have a good rest of your day, and catch you next time. Peace.